The first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to install QuickBooks. If you don't install QuickBooks, none of this is going to be available to you. So you can install the full version of QuickBooks and get 5 months of free use as part of the purchase of your textbook. There should be an access code with your textbook that allows you to get this up and running. If you don't have an access code, you still may be able to do the free trial for some period of time before it will prompt you to enter one. But if you find that your access code doesn't work, or you have any problems downloading the software or doing anything like that, this is not something that I'm able to provide technical support for. So the software publisher has a phone number for this, and I will put it on the Canvas site, but it's 1-800-535-6865. They should be your first line of defense if you have trouble doing the software installation. Also, if you refer to page 5 in your textbook, it will give you the step-by-step instructions on how to find the download page and how to get that up and running for the first time. So once you get it downloaded, then we will begin the installation process. And I will skip to this. And what I'm going to do is I'll spend a few minutes going through these slides, and then I will jump over to the live version and take you through it in that version. So when you have installed QuickBooks, this will be the first screen that you're going to see. No company open. Unless somebody had been using this before you, or you had been using this previously and you hadn't closed the company you were working in. If you haven't closed the company or somebody else hasn't, it will open up automatically to the last company that anyone was working in. And so there will be the no company open window, and there are several options that you can do. And you will need to initially open the files, which hopefully you have downloaded. You'll need the company files that come with your textbook to be able to do the installation on this. And so we will move through that. Let's see. On the main menu of your screen, you have your drop-down menu from the File menu, which will give you also another way to access. So if you do, for example, go in, find out somebody else has left a file open and you need to access a different one, this is where you will find that. So you can open up or restore a company. Back up your company file from here also, which will be an important part of this week's activities. And you can restore a company from a backup. Before we get to the actual use of QuickBooks, we want to make sure that you download the correct version. We are using QuickBooks Desktop 2018. And there are many versions of QuickBooks out there. The two basic differences, again, are the desktop versus the online version. We are not using the online version this semester. I may change my mind on that at some point. However, I have a strong bias against online software. And my reason for that is that it is subscription based. And you need to make sure that before you subscribe to any sort of cloud-based software company, who owns your data? Who has access to your information? If you stop paying the subscription, do you lose access to all of your information? And quite often, the answer to that question is yes. And I will share a very brief experience that I had with QuickBooks on this issue. They were offering a free trial of something where you could scan in, if you were paying an invoice, you could scan in the physical copy of that invoice and it would attach to the check in the check ledger. And so you could, if you were looking at your check register, you could click on a little icon and a pop-up PDF of the invoice would come up. And I tried it for a couple weeks, and it was really handy, but it wasn't something I was willing to pay money for. So I decided I was not going to use that feature after the free trial had expired. What I discovered a couple weeks later, when I went in to click on those items that I had previously scanned in and attached through that free trial, QuickBooks would no longer let me have access to them. Now, fortunately, I had saved the physical copies of them, so I still had them. But that just tells me that if I don't continue to pay QuickBooks, I'm going to lose access to my information. And I don't, that makes me very unhappy. And even after, you may say, well, I'm not, maybe I'm going to close my business. Who cares? Well, frankly, who cares is the IRS cares. You can be audited for up to 3 years beyond the close of the business year for anything. And you want to be able to support the tax returns that you filed with data. And if you've lost access to all your data and you get audited and the only place it lived was in QuickBooks, which you no longer subscribe to, you're going to have some real problems there. So unfortunately, going to the cloud-based versions of software is an emerging trend with all companies, but basically because it's financially advantageous for the companies, not for the customers. And my hope is that at some point there will be some backlash and companies will go back the other way, but for now, I'm sticking to the desktop version of virtually everything I use. So QuickBooks also offers industry-specific software. So you can you can download QuickBooks that is specifically for different kinds of industries. Now, QuickBooks will still function exactly the same way, but it may come with a pre-populated chart of accounts that are more commonly found in these kinds of industries as opposed to having to create them from scratch. So they can be handy. You still may have to create your own from scratch, even if you use these, because every company might have something a little bit different. But in any event, we don't want to download any of the industry-specific versions of the program. And so once you have downloaded that, and installed your software, the first thing we'll need to do is we'll need to open a company file, because you will start with that screen I showed you, and you will go to opening a company file, because at this point we don't have anything to restore or portable file or a conversion. And then we will follow the menu, and I will actually pause at this point and jump over to the live version. So here we are in the live version. And when I first installed my software, I just for fun created a company with my name on it. But there's no data or anything associated with that company. The companies that you will be working with early on are already created by your book publisher. So hopefully you've downloaded the full file of those, because downloading them one at a time every time you go to do your homework might be kind of a hassle. Especially if you happen to be someplace where you may not have internet access and you haven't downloaded all your company files. So I'm going to open a company file. Again, open a company file there. And now I'm going to navigate to the place in my file structure where I have saved my company files. And I'm going to actually pause this video because I have some things on this that I don't necessarily want published to the world in terms of my file structure. So hang tight. Sorry, brief distraction. Okay, so now we're chapter 1. And I have here, there are 3 different files that were provided by your book publisher. And you'll see that copying those in here resulted in a number of additional files. What we really want to worry about is these main files with this, I don't even know what to call it, little symbol here. And so I know one of these, I think Olivia's, may come directly out of the chapter practice. And then Lynn's and Kristen's are the end of chapter exercises. So generally we'll be working with Lynn's music studio as far as the homework goes. So I'll go ahead and open that one. And then your book tells you to use a password, which I believe, if I remember correctly, is student 1. And it needs to update my company file, which is okay. And student 1, student has a capital S, by the way. And we're not going to set up an external accountant user. And, whoops. Okay, and so here is the splash screen that you see. As I had said before, here's your file menu. And I'm going to pause this video. Actually, I'm going to stop this video here, close this out, start a new video on the next part of this week's topic.